Television and film writers are on the picket lines for the second day this morning. They're demanding higher wages and better working conditions. The stakes are huge for the future of entertainment, and many shows have already been knocked off the air. Our Elise Preston is in Los Angeles covering this story for us now and joins us. So, Elise, day one, we saw the late night programs immediately impacted because we know, they're writing to day of events. And so that means they're not prepared to go to air. We saw reruns last night.
And the late night shows were the first to go dark. We'll continue also to see more shows go dark. CBS is The Talk, like many daytime programs, will also not be airing currently as far as new programming. But keep in mind, Anne-Marie, that this in general, so much of this strike is because of how content and how we consume content has shifted in the years. So much of this strike is about streaming and the residuals that writers are not getting because they'll write a show. It could be a hit once it airs on a network, but then there is no place anymore for them to rerun like they had in the past. And so they're going to streaming channels where writers are not getting those high residual checks. I've heard and seen some writers say that residual checks that they've gotten as of late have been about $7 as opposed to hundreds of dollars. Also, keep in mind that the last time there was a strike was in 2007. It started in 2007. And because there wasn't scripted TV, that's where we saw a rise of reality television, like The Kardashians, which is a powerhouse today. That family really cashed in on what happened from that writer strike. And the other difference here, as opposed to 15 years ago, is that so many shows have already aired their final episode of the season. So we are not seeing shows being canceled kind of in the middle of a season like we did in 2007, where some shows, one of my favorites of all times, Girlfriends, never got a conclusion in that final season. So in all, so much of this is about how content has been consumed in recent years and just a shift in programming.
That's really fascinating. So, what you're laying out to me is, the possibility that, the studios and producers, that they might not feel the same level of pressure that they felt, in 2007 when we had the first strike, which lasted for 100 days. The fallout was significant, at least for California. A lot of money was lost because it's not just about the productions, it's about all the secondary businesses that benefit from this huge industry. Is there a possibility that we could see, the government of California maybe stepping in to help out?
So the governor has said that he is very concerned. He has said that he will intervene if both sides have agreed to that, if both sides have asked that. As far as mayors, both here in New York and Los Angeles, those mayors have said that this writer strike, that writers are vital to not only our culture, but our economy. But it does not appear that the mayors are stepping in just yet. You spoke about that economic impact. That 2007 writers strike had a roughly $2 billion impact in loss of wages here in California alone. And so when you talk about other people who are affected, there are about 11,500 writers in this guild, Anne-Marie, but there's makeup artists, there's caterers, there are a lot of people who are part of that support staff as well when we talk about production. Now, some shows will continue in production if the scripts have been written, but others are just on hold for now.
And what you described to me when we talk about at least the dissatisfaction with how they're getting paid is something that would require a major overhaul. Like either they get more money, from residuals, or they get more money up front for writing whatever they're writing, right? So it seems like the two sides are a long way off. What is the ideal solution?
It does appear like they are a long way off, and by a lot of experts are saying, by all indicators, that this strike could last anywhere from 6 months to a year, which will push back production quite a bit, and they are far off. Another indicator there is that these talks did not go up until that deadline. They stopped hours before. The Writers Guild released kind of a comprehensive side-by-side of what they were asking for and what the studios were offering. I have to tell you, Anne-Marie, when you go down the list, the writers wanted higher pay up front. They wanted higher pay on the back end with residuals. It looks like the studios are willing to be flexible there, but then there are a lot of other issues where there were not counter offers presented, one of which is the use of technology. AI platforms can write scripts in seconds, and writers want limits on the use of that technology. According to what they released yesterday, it does not appear that there was a counter offer there sent back by the studios.
Oh, that's a whole other ball of wax right there, Elise. Thank you very much.